Hey y'all, it's me again. I'm back. Let's talk. If you haven't had an opportunity, definitely go look at the video I made on fallible idols, fathers specifically. I think that it'll be a great prelude as you're watching this video. Well, it is the prelude to this video, but this video is about fallible idols, mothers, and how we worship them. My mom is in the public eye, just like my dad was, and my mother has made a name for herself on her own. And I love my mother. I really do. And I wanted to be sensitive with this video because my mother is still with us. And I also am very honest. And I think that there is something to be learned from our journey. I grew up idolizing my mother as well. She was pretty to me. She had the prettiest, long, thick, silky hair. She used to dye her hair black, but it was so pretty. I always thought she was so pretty. And I wanted to look like my mom, but it was very, very clear to me. It was made clear to me by my mother and everyone around that I didn't look like my mom. I looked like my daddy. And to this day, I still look like my daddy, and I am okay with that, right? But I really struggled with being told, oh, you don't look like her. And the difference in who I was and what I look like. We are shaped by our families and what they say we are, whether we realize it or not, whether we want to admit it or not, whether we think it's true or not. We are 100% shaped by our mothers. My mother has never felt like a supporter of mine. The only thing I think my mother has truly believed about me was that I was a good singer. And that was evident to me in early life. It's certainly evident in present life. And this is, I think, an ongoing issue that she and I go back and forth with. This is not to air dirty laundry. I want you to understand that you can be an adult and still not have a great relationship with your parents. Okay? That's okay. For whatever reason, you can absolutely detach yourself from your family. And it is okay. It's okay. No one is responsible for your success but you. Okay? No one is responsible for who you become but you. Now, your family influences who you start off as, right? But truly, no one influences who you become or who you really are, who you step into, but you. My mother and I have always had a tumultuous relationship. I would say certainly since my parents' divorce, and forgive me, y'all, I have to write a note real fast. As God talks to me, I'm trying to say this and take other notes. Um, okay. Um, since my parents' divorce, my mother and I haven't had a great relationship. My mother and I stopped living together when I was about, I want to say 13 or 14. Um, that was not by choice, that was by circumstance. There were things that happened during my parents' divorce that absolutely 100% undoubtedly, no doubt about it, put me in the middle. Don't do that. I'm speaking to you all. Don't do that. 100% undoubtedly, no doubt about it, it completely derailed what I should have experienced in high school. While my friends were focused on what was going on in school, I was going through a divorce with my parents up and through my junior year of high school. It really set me back. I took a whole year out of choir, which was the thing that really excited me because I was really depressed. I was really depressed. I think I mentioned before I went to jail. Um, because I got caught up in the middle of my parents' nasty divorce. And yes, there was an altercation between my sister and I went to jail. My sister and I have had this conversation years and years ago. And I believe that she understands that I don't hold her. I have released her from that. I have released everybody from that. But this is a conversation we need to have because I know I'm not the only person that has been in this situation. And I also know I am not the only person that struggles to manage a relationship with her mother. And I want to tell you how I'm doing it. This is how I'm doing it. Many years ago, I wrote a letter to my mom expressing my grievances. And through that letter, I was able to kind of get out the things that, as kids, and especially as church kids, especially as black kids, you can't talk back to your mama. It doesn't work. The last time I did that, my mom, the last time I spoke back to my mom prior to that time, I was removed from my home by children's services. Don't do that. But I'll say this. That relationship has never been a normal relationship. And there's something that I had to learn was normal is, that's subjective. What's normal? Some people have lovey-dovey relationships with their parents, and some people talk to their moms every single day. That has never been my mother and I's relationship, though I love her deeply. I love my mom, but that's not our relationship. That is not our relationship. I have taken many journeys in this life on my own without my mother, including graduating, getting married. There's been a lot of pivotal moments where my mother was not there for whatever reason. Okay. And that took a lot of pain, a lot of heartbreak, and a lot of therapy to navigate. Lots and lots of therapy to navigate. But what I realized was it was never designed for me to have a relationship with my mother that would be indicative of what you may see with some other people's moms. Um, my mother and I have been through a lot in our relationship, and I had to learn that one of the reasons I was so hurt and so heartbroken was because I idolized her. She was the first beautiful woman I ever laid eyes on. She was so pretty to me. My mom has always been, she's just as jazzy and just as weird as I am, but in her own way. Um, there are a lot of traits that I have picked up from my mother, and in that I can take something and make nothing. I could take nothing and make something. I'm sorry. My mom knows how to capitalize on what it is that she has, and that is something that I am so glad that I learned from my mother. Um, but we have never had a great relationship. I don't want to pretend like we do, you know. Um, I think I have learned over the time that I have been healing that there was an easier place and a more comfortable place with just being two women that can get along, that can go to lunch, that can, do things together. And that seemed to work better for me. Trying to have the mother-daughter relationship, that died for me many years ago. So I respect God, and I try to respect my mother as well, because I know that, um, well, first of all, it's just who I am. I try to be respectful. Um, but I'm also an adult. I'm not responsible for my mother. I'm not responsible for my siblings. In fact, if you know me in real life, you know that I am not, I don't really talk to my family as often, because there has been so many different rifts that I have chosen to just stay in my lane and wish everyone well from the sidelines. Um, there is nothing wrong with that. You know, there's this conversation, or there is this, it's really mess. I'm going to be honest with you. When people say blood is thicker than water. Okay. I guess it is. If I'm sitting here bleeding and then I'm comparing it to water, certainly, right? I have found that the scripture that talks about a friend sticking closer than a brother to be my life story. I have some friends that have really betrayed me, stabbed me in the back. I have friends that I've given my last to, and they betrayed me. But I have more friends that are truly family to me. Truly family. And I thank the Lord, because during my parents' divorce, which started at, I think I was in the 8th grade when it first started. And it was finalized my junior year in high school. That long process, there was a lot. There was a lot of court. There was a lot of things to witness. There was a lot of unhealthy behavior. There was a lot of Brandy kind of raising herself and caring for herself. And I was determined. I remember sleeping on my sister's couch because there was nowhere else for us to live. I was sleeping on my sister's couch, and I was in the ninth grade. And I remember praying to God and saying, God, don't harden my heart. Now, I don't know at that point if I really knew what that meant, but I had really remembered my daddy preaching about having a hardened heart, right? Because at that time, you're only regurgitating what you know. But I was so determined that I didn't want to be a bad person. There was a lot of bad things happening to me. My business was out in the street. Kids were teasing me about me sleeping with my father, which was a rumor that people were saying that my mother had mentioned or put out. I don't know. It was just a lot. It was just a lot to deal with. Um, and there really wasn't family for me to turn to. My father was ill during that time, so I was taking care of my father. Nobody knew how sick my father was. I don't even know what was going on, but I think it's just as an adult now, I know that he was just going through depression, but also anxiety. Also, he was losing his life to divorce. The church was gone. Um, there was a lot of mess. There was a lot of mess. I even went to a church. I went to a church one time with my daddy, and they put us out because of something that had been said, that my mother had said. And they literally put us out the church. I won't name that church. It's not necessary. But it taught me a lot about people's character. It taught me a lot about the idol, the other idol I had. Whether it was true or not, everything I was hearing was just like looped in what my mother had said. My mother had said. And some of it I knew was true because she had repeated it to me, you know. But it really caused a rift that would never be repaired. And I think over the years, as I started to heal from it, and I started to see the ways in which in my life it was showing up, the ways in which I was still being hurt by things or being triggered by things, that I had to work on it myself. And that took years. That took a lot of years to work through. But I worked through it. I really did. Thank you, God, because it was a very, very difficult thing to go through high school. Some of my closest friends in high school had never met my mom, still have never met my mom. And those people were like family to me. They're still like family to me. Um, Black women a lot of times have these odd relationships with our mothers that we can't explain. This is already hard to try to be a Black woman in America. But then you layer on the divinity, being in church and being in a public setting, which is church and a church organization. I remember my dad went to preach at a church, and we drove all night going to this church, and we got to the city for him to preach, and they would not allow him to preach because of something they said my mother had said. I don't know whatever came of that situation outside of It was a wasted trip. It just seemed like every place I turned, there was something someone was saying about your mom said this, your mom said that. And it really hurt. It really hurt. Um, Even with all the things that I've accomplished in my life, and I've done a lot, I'm not going to sit here and downplay myself because I have worked very hard in my life. Very, very difficult situations I've been put in, very grown up situations that I was put in as a child, and I won't take it back. I have earned my place. I have earned my right to speak my truth. But this truth isn't about, it's not about not loving someone. It's not about not being forgiving because I have forgiven my mother for those things. This is about, what are we telling our kids? What does our behavior as mothers say to our children, as parents in general? What does that say? Um, I went many years without seeing my mother, and that was very difficult. But I think I got used to it. I got used to it. And I think in my youth, with it being so normal, that in my adulthood, it's extremely normal. It's extremely normal for me to not be in deep relation with my family because I haven't been in close proximity with them consistently since I was a kid. Um, which is why I say I'm not speaking for anyone here. I am not speaking on behalf of the Paxton family. I am not speaking on behalf of anyone but Brandy Surratt. Okay? Y'all, let's do better as parents. We got to do better as parents because it is only by the grace of God, prayers from my grandmother, my own fortitude, and having wonderful friends in my life and wonderful parents of those friends. Miss Vanessa and Miss Anna. It is only by the grace of having good people in my life that I have become what I have become. It really is, because having an absentee parent, especially an absentee mother at a pivotal time when people are going to prom, people are experiencing heartbreak, people are losing their virginities, people are getting married. That absenteeism, that's a hole that hurts. And it's a deep one. It's a deep one. I'm here to tell you, you can make it. You can survive it. And I'm much more sensitive in this video because, as like I said, I still love my mother. It's not that I don't love her. It is that our relationship it is not the cookie cutter relationship. And that is okay. I'll be 40 next year. And I can look back over my life and I look at all of the many ways in which I have worked so hard to ensure that I did a better job as a mom. I took it more serious. Paxton is my miracle child. I did a lot to have Paxton. It wasn't easy. I had to survive a lot. It took a lot to get pregnant. Once I got pregnant, I held that baby in my stomach like it was the Ark of the Covenant. And I have been holding him that way since. It's imperative that we are good to our children, because whoever we tell them they are is who they believe in their mind. If you tell them that they are successful, they can be successful, they can go be successful very easily. There's not a whole lot they will need to do on their own, because someone will have already planted that seed in them. I think I told y'all, I know that I am. My daddy told me I was pretty, so I knew I was pretty to some degree, right? My daddy told me I was smart, so I knew I was smart. Um, my daddy taught me a lot about business and things to not do. Make There were mistakes he made. He would teach me, now, don't do that, right? I learned a lot. And I think to some degree, I'm sure my mother had felt betrayed, right? By not, maybe it was more around my father. I don't know that it would have been any sort of betrayal from me, especially as a kid. Um, there was a lot I couldn't control, but I remember having been removed or being picked up by children's services from school. And that morning, the bed sheets that were on my bed before I left home, I never saw those sheets on that bed again. I never saw that room like that ever again, until a few years ago. I went home. I went to my mother's house, and those sheets were wrapped around her ironing board. You know how you put a sheet on the ironing board, older people? Baby, did that trigger me. Whew. God, the biggest trigger. And it messed with me so bad. I called my therapist and was like, yo, I need an emergency. I need an emergency session. And I cried and cried and cried, but I had to do that session there. There were so many remnants. It was almost like being cocooned in this box of all of the worst parts of the worst time in your life. Sheets, towels, all these things that I remember that I never saw again after being removed. And that's when I was like, okay. And I thought I had healed from that. But honey, when I saw that, baby, that threw me, ooh, that was a rough one, right? And I was able to process that. And thank God for Judge Judy, which, if you don't know, that's what I call my therapist. Because I was in derision, for sure. For sure. I'm saying all this to say my idol started off as a safe place. And I had to divorce that idol when my parents divorced. I never received, we never got back there. We'll never get back there. I realize that. And that's okay. That's okay. For all of us who have these unorthodox, uncomfortable relationships with our mothers. We're going to be okay, y'all. You have to grow the little child inside of you. You have to mother that child. What does that look like? When you have emotional days where a lot of people would call mama and talk to mama, you got to tell yourself, it's okay. You did the best you could do. I'm proud of you. You're so smart. You're so sweet. You're so intelligent. Because you're not going to get that from your mother. It's not going to be that way. You have got to understand that it's not your fault. Nothing you did made it this way. Nothing you did made you deserve a situation or a relationship with family that is unlike everyone else's. And that's okay. That's okay. You can love yourself. There are people God will send to you that will love you so deeply that pain will go away. There is a restoration that you can have, that the divine will give you, in which that pain can subside. There is even a relationship that you can manage with that parent in the capacity in which you deem is appropriate. Okay? That means you may not feel like talking that day. That's okay. That's fine. And you don't need an excuse. You don't need to feel, oh, if something is wrong, you will find out. Allow your nervous system to rest. Allow your nervous system to rest. It's not your fault. You're going to survive it. You are certainly, you can. 100% you can survive it. Because I did. I did it. I made it. And I'm so thankful that it's kind of like I lost one part of my family, or I lost my family and I gained so many people. I always brag about my friends because I'm so proud of the accomplishments that they have made. I'm so proud because I remember when we were kids, or I remember us dreaming. And guess what? When my friends win, I win. I love rooting people on. There is something inside of me that gets great joy to support people. Because why? When they win, you win. Yeah, that's how it works. There is no need to be in competition with people. There is no need to sit around and be jealous or wish unkind things, or to even feel like, oh, why isn't it me? Why is it them? Baby, you don't have to do that, because let me tell you something. What's meant for you ain't gonna pass you by. Y'all see that thing? It ain't gonna pass you by. If it was designed for you to have a better relationship with your mother, you would have one. It wasn't in the cards. So, how do you cope with that? You work on the inside. You call your power back into yourself. That pain, take the energy from that pain, use that as healing, use that as fuel, use that as the thing you need to catapult you into the next dimension. Not everybody's going to have a great relationship with their parents. It's okay. You ain't the first person. You ain't going to be the last, child. Some things you just got to wash your hands of and give it to the Lord. Or move away. Or whatever the case may be, right? For me, I have been blessed to be able to get therapy, for me to have an internal desire to not repeat cycles. It Listen, it wasn't going to continue with me. There was no way I was going to have a child and not be committed, not be speaking constant life. That's how you take your power back. That's how you grow the little child up. Our children come here to teach us a lesson. And if we're listening, we can learn. The moment we stop listening, the moment we die, that relationship will die. It won't be what you want it to be, right? But you have a great opportunity to be someone's hero, to be someone. I don't think we should idolize anybody. That's my own personal opinion. I'm not one of those fans that stand outside in the rain. I don't care who you are. Baby, I'm not doing that. That's just not, I'm not that kind of person. And y'all know how much I love Brandy Norwood. Baby, I've seen her enough. I'm not standing outside. Do you see where I'm going? Like, I don't idolize things in that way. I don't idolize money. I don't idolize fame. If I wanted to be famous, I could have already been there. And that's facts. That's not me being delulu. That's facts. If I wanted to be famous, I could do that. I would have already been there. But that has never appealed to me. It's not about fame. It's not about fortune. Do we want to live good? Yes, everybody wants to live good. No one wants the stress of bills. But God, we're going to have that until the day we die. Right? So for me, it has been, I'm a relationship person. I love close relationships. I love investing in relationships because I get a 100% return every time I extend myself. Every time I get into a relationship with someone, I get a 100% return on that relationship, whether it goes positively or negatively. I don't believe that there are any failures in life. I believe it's all just in here to teach us a lesson. Now, we can take the lesson from it, eat the meat, spit out the bones. Take the lesson, face what it is, realize, hey, it wasn't meant to be. It is not going to be. Let me move forward. Let me move on in my life. I have no affinity, no plan on being a pastor. I'm not trying to compete. So let's just stop. Let's make that clear. I have no plan on being a cult leader or whatever the case may be. That's not the plan. My mission is love. I love loving people. I love supporting people. And in working through my own idolatry and the letdown of that idolatry as it pertains to the relationship I have with my mother, I have learned that I am strong. Anything that I ask of God and that I work at, I can make happen. And that relationship was one of the things I prayed. Jesus, have I prayed about that? But then I was able to move into a space in which it didn't hurt anymore. Then you move on, and it's like, even when you have exchanges, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my mama and I get along all the time, because we don't. We don't. And I think that's normal. I don't know anybody that doesn't have any sort of disagreement with anybody. That's a part of life. So I don't want to sit here and you be like, "Oh, she's completely they get along great now." No. And it's not because we are horrible women. It's largely because our relationship at a very young age and in very extreme circumstances was severed. And during that time, it was very formidable years for me, right? Middle school, high school, that's important. Those times are important. You tend to remember those things, and everybody else's mom there, and mine not being there, and people asking, "Man, I want to meet your mom. I want to find out where you come from." That's a different that's a different wound. That's a very different wound. And so I have learned to make peace with what it is that we were designed to have, right? Which is, we can be in relation. We can be two women. We can have a conversation. My mama and I can laugh and cut up, and I can move on about my way. It's not a matter of, I need you to rock me. I need you to hold me. Mm-mm. Recently, I went to visit my mother, and she did my hair. And it was a great experience, just getting my hair washed by my mom. I can't remember the last time I mean, I had to be like 9, something like that, because I was going to the beauty salon after that. But it was a wonderful experience. Just having my mom wash my hair, blow dry it, and her see, "Oh my gosh, look at all this hair," and mom. It was a wonderful experience. And I'm glad. And for that day, I was glad. I had Christmas dinner with my mother. For that, I was glad. I was glad. There is a way to move on. There is a way to be positive, but there is also a way to call your power back to yourself. Then no one can hurt you. Then it's like you rise up inside of yourself. You reclaim your energy and you become almost a giant within yourself. The things don't trigger you like they used to. Things don't really rock you like they used to. I'm going to close. I'm at 44 minutes, and I know I talk a whole lot. Y'all just be good to each other. Be good to your kids. Hug them. Give them lots of love. You are not going to make every football game, every basketball game, every choir event. It's just, sometimes it's hard to do, you know? If you can, great. Great. If you can't, they're going to make it. What's important is that you communicate with your child. Speak to your child. Speak life into your child as your children become adults. And now I'm talking to the older parents. Listen, we're adults now. We don't need the mothering. We don't need the go to bed. We don't need the chastisement. What we need is support. Okay? No matter what you intended for your child to be, your dream is yours. You see how that goes? It's your dream. Let's not impose that on our children. Don't do that. That's not helpful for anybody. And really and truly it only holds you back. Your children are not here to live out your life. Your children are here to come into the world. We usher them here. While they're here, we hold their hand. We speak life. We wish them well. We support them. And then as they become adults, we continue doing that. As we become grandparents, we do that for their children. As we enter into the realm of the ancestors, they have those memories. That is the circle of life. And if we just start by speaking life into people and speaking kindness and being loving, we will heal a multitude of wounds. We will heal a whole world of motherless daughters. This video is for everybody because I know that the complexity of relationships are interesting. You can both love and there could be some toxicity in those relationships, or there can be some apathy in those relationships as well. But you can survive it. You can do it. I'm betting on you. And to all the mothers that are about to experience Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day. This year on Mother's Day, spend time reflecting on your level of motherhood, what you've done and what you could do better. Maybe even ask your children. That's a different concept, right? Ask your kids, what could you do better? How can I support you? How can I be in your corner? Also, to the mothers or people who have mothers who were wonderful and have gone to heaven, sending you so much love. So much love. What a blessing that must have been. And I believe that their spirit is still near you. If you get still, you'll hear it. You'll feel it. And to people who are no longer in relation with their parents, I see you. And I understand. Sometimes you have to create distance to love yourself. This whole life thing, this is about you. And if you need to create the distance, create the distance. God still loves you. You can love yourself. Your ancestors are still rooting for you. And if you ask, there can be people who can come into your life, and there have certainly been in my life, that have mothered me. Oh, do I love Ernestine. That's a different level of love that will never forget the things you've done. I won't ever forget the sacrifices. I won't ever forget the sacrifices. Ernestine ran all around town for me. And I love her deeply for that. Mother Avon. There are so many people in my life that came and stepped in, saw the need, filled the need, tried to fill the void. And some things they were able to do, but that other stuff, that inside work, you can't fix that. We have to fix it ourselves. That part is up to us. That's up to us. And I thank God that I had other women around me throughout my entire life. I have who have been extremely supportive, who saw my intelligence and they didn't see it as a threat. They encouraged it. They gave me books to read. They pushed me to continue school. They pushed me to get every certification I could. They pushed me. They pushed me. God, do I thank God for that. And listen, if you're a mama, try to do that for somebody else. Think about the kids that come to your house, your children's friends. Think about the situations that they may be in. Share that love with them because I promise you, you never know what's going on with these kids. I'm sure if people had known the situation was as it was in my situation, and there's a lot I'm not going to talk about. But if people had known, they'd have done differently. But that's not my thing. That's not mine to bear. It was my lot to live through the experience, to grow from it, to talk about it, to be a better parent. And now I guess it is my lot to share it with the world. Somebody else is in this situation. Somebody else is trying to navigate it right now. And I swear for God, as my girl says, I swear for cheese and crackers. I understand what you're going through. That mother wound is deep, baby. Don't idolize that relationship. Don't idolize what you had in your head. Let that go. Let the thing go that's in your head and live in reality with what you have. At some point, that part of the delulu has got to go. All right? Because you'll kill yourself trying to be something you're not. You'll kill yourself trying to materialize something that is not. That is not. Live in reality, deal with what you have, and try to do better. If that takes space, time, and distance, I invite you to get space, time, and distance in your life. And it's okay. You don't have to ever worry about being the bad guy. No, you have to do what is right for you. You have got to do what's right for you. And the blood is thicker than water comments, all of that stuff yes, it would be wonderful if we could all function in a society where family comes first in all things and family looks out for family and family cares for family and family sacrifices for family and family doesn't leave. But that ain't the reality. So let's just stop there. You can cut the strings from your family. How do I know? Because I know. Because I've done it. And then you can introduce people back into your life as you want them. When you are ready, on your terms. And then you can still move on and move forward in your life in the way in which you deem is appropriate. But you are not required to have people in your energy, in your space, or even in your life that conflict with the very thing of who you are. You don't have to do that. That old way of thinking, well, that's your cousin, that's your... God is freeing us from that. That is a generational curse, and it's going to die. It's going to die with you. We're not forcing people to deal with things that are unkind. We're not forcing people to put up with things and to put us in positions where we feel like we're less than, being told that your hair is nappy, you ain't this and you ain't that. And listen, I graduated from I graduated from grad school 10 years ago. And when I told my mother, she said, "That's some secular mess." I got my doctorate degree in it's from a church program. Master's in education, focus in human resource development, primarily focused on teaching adults. I graduated with the 3.98 while working full time, being a mother full time, my husband traveling the globe full time, and working about an hour away from home, going to school at night, working all day, sitting in a classroom at night. And it's secular mess. You see where I'm going? Some things you don't have to ever, some people you'll never make proud. Some people you will never make proud. And it's okay. Because you got to be okay with you. Don't let somebody's opinion of you stop you. Don't let seeking validation stop you. Don't do it. Let it go. God wants something better for you. And through parenting, has it been a blessing to my soul? I didn't even know love existed, especially the way it exists with Paxton and I. That's a child that came here with so much light, and it has been a true and divine blessing to be his mother, to coach him, to support him as he is an amazing singer. It has been my goal not to push him to do anything, not to try to live up to being who I am, but to make his own path. And he's doing that. That is how I know I made it. I'm a success because Paxton is a success. That's all I got for y'all. I love y'all. I love you deep. And I'm rooting you on. You got this.